And let's move over to the NFC. And I feel like, I don't know, it's going to be interesting to kind of have a talk about the power of the conferences as they sit right now, because I think there are a lot of interesting, promising teams in the AFC. And I don't know if we're going to have that for the NFC, but it might be top heavy at the NFC, and the bottom teams are more of like cellar dwellers.
I feel like that in the NFC. Yes, there's definitely an upper class, that's for sure.
Okay.
Starts off.
Let's do it.
My number 1 seed. This might get some people, okay? The Chicago Bears are the team I'm making the number 1 seed right now in the NFC.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, I know. It was close. And it was close between them and the Rams, just so everybody else out there knows that. It wasn't the Saints. It was the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, when you evaluate their roster, there's just nothing, there's no weak spot. I mean, everything is above average, better than average. I think Mitchell Trubisky in year 2 and the Nagy offense is going to be better. You sign guys like Cordero Patterson who fit your scheme of these receivers who can play running back and speed sweeps and kick return and go deep over the top. I like their Buster Screen signing. Who was the safety they got? I'm going to have to pull that up because I'm blanking. I can't pull up every name in my, Ha Clinton Dix, to get him at safety to replace Adrian Amos. I think that was a nice fill-in spot. You know, to really go through this process, and really the only marquee player they lost is Adrian Amos for a team that, I mean, was very close to being the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs last year. Yeah, I just think everything is on the up and up in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, they're solid offensively, defensively. Kicking game, not as much.
Yep.
You got to figure that out. You got to figure that out. But, I mean, they'll figure that out, right?
Yes, they yeah, I would think so. I mean, it can only get better.
So the number 16 seed who has to face the Bears in that first-round matchup, I'm going with, out of the NFC East, the New York Giants.
Oh,
I'm going with them as the bottom seed in the NFC.
Okay.
You lost Odell, obviously. It seems like they're trying to make one final run with Eli, and I don't know how prudent that is.
Right.
And the GM is basically, Dave Gettleman, taking a lot of criticism for how they handled the Odell trade, has come out and said, well, what they want to do is they want to run the ball more and feature Saquon Barkley more, which is, I feel like, a good thought. But by coming out and saying that, I feel like now you're going to face, 14 men in the box, and that's going to be an issue for the Giants offensively.
I think that's a fair point. Or what's going to back them off? What's going to back the safeties getting close to the line of scrimmage? It's not going to be Eli Manning's and his aggressive mindset or his big arm. So, the Giants, to me, the only move they've made so far that I go, that was a good move, was Kevin Zeitler. Trading Olivier Vernon for Kevin Zeitler, who's still a really good guard in the NFL, one of the better guards in football. They get him. That, of course, helps a Saquon Barkley, helps protection with Eli Manning. But Golden Tate thought they overpaid for him a little bit, was not impressed with what he looked like in Philadelphia last year. Okay, you lose Landon Collins, you bring in Antoine Bethea. That's a drop-off. Okay, they signed Marcus Golden, who James Betcher, the D coordinator, was with in Arizona before this. He's a year and a half off an ACL injury, so he's kind of we hope he turns out to be the guy he was before he got hurt type of signing.
Yeah.
And then the big, Jabril Peppers is the other guy.
I'll be rooting for him as a Michigan fan.
I understand that. I root for Jabril Peppers, too, because I watched him play in New Jersey high school football. But it's not been pretty his first few years in Cleveland as a defensive safety. And I think that's where, I'm not as high on the Giants either there because, I don't know about that player yet. I mean, they took him out. When they were in passing situations in Cleveland, they took him off the field. Yeah. And that's not usually a ringing endorsement for a safety. So
Giants,
those are my issues.
They just seem caught in the middle.
They are right now.
Are they doing a full rebuild? Or are they trying to do a little bit of both?
Yes.
And I don't know if they have a coherent plan.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure either. Okay, number 2 seed. Here we go. My number 2 seed, the Los Angeles Rams.
Rams,
the defending NFC champions. Yes, I got to go with them. The Rams, it hasn't been anything big through free agency, certainly to what they added to their team. I think the biggest signing you've seen to this point is Eric Weddle. The fact that they re-signed Dante Fowler, that was nice. I think he really contributed to the team. But they're losing Ndamukong Suh. There is no Mark Barron, right? You just talked about Roger Saffold going to the Tennessee Titans, right? So they're a team that certainly still really good. I expect them to be the cream of the crop of the NFC. But I think compared to where they were last year and repeating a Super Bowl run and all of those things, taking into a factor and where we are right here in March, I put the Bears just a little bit ahead of the Rams.
So Bears ahead of the Rams, still no Saints in your top 3. So Bears the Rams number 2 seed.
Yes.
I'm going with, for my 15 seed out of the NFC West, the Cardinals.
Yeah,
3-13 last year. You got a new coach. You still got David Johnson. Maybe you can get him going.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have Kyler Murray as your quarterback.
Right.
You do have Larry Fitzgerald that didn't want to retire because he wanted to go out on top, or at least better than what they did last year. So maybe Larry, who I like a whole lot, can, by his own, volition, just carry that team to a few more victories, but I'm not real optimistic. I got them as the 15 seed, and I'm curious, would you have had them below the Giants?
I would. I would have gone them 16, Giants 15, but I'm not mad at you either way. I mean, I'm really not. This is definitely the bottom of the NFC as far as I'm concerned. Just so many holes on this roster. They haven't really done anything to this point to really improve the team. Jordan Hicks at middle linebacker would probably be.
Signing.
He was a great signing, no doubt about it. But they're trying out guys like Terrell Suggs, who I think this is a 1 year, I'm coming home back to Arizona type of thing. Kevin White is a guy who, didn't live up to his top 10 being picked by the Chicago Bears. They signed him at receiver. So no organizational changing type moves yet, at least not yet until they draft Kyler Murray coming up in the draft.
Yep. So Cardinals, the 15th seed, taking on the Rams in the first round of our NCAA NFC bracket. Number 3 seed.
Number three.
I think I know, right?
Yeah.
Saints. Got it.
Nope, absolutely not. Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
Ooh, you weren't expecting that.
I was not. No.
How about them apples?
Wow.
I'm going to go with Philadelphia. First of all, Philadelphia is an extremely talented football team. We saw that with the way they rebounded last year. I really think one of the most impressive things we saw in all of football last year was a Super Bowl defending champion team falling apart at the midway point of the year. Quarterback gets hurt and banged up, and they rebound to make this unbelievable playoff run and are driving to go ahead on the game-winning score with a throw to Alshon Jeffrey from Nick Foles that goes through his hands and gets intercepted. And who knows what we're talking about. We might have been talking about Patriots-Eagles part 2.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they were playing. But they still have a phenomenal offensive line. They still have a phenomenal defensive line. You mentioned the Malik Jackson going there instead of Michael Bennett, all of that. Deshaun Jackson on the offensive side of the ball, re-signing Brandon Graham at defensive end and getting Ronald Darby back to solidify their secondary. Yes, I think the Eagles are still one of the best teams in the NFC. The best Eagle, and I know Carson Wentz is better than Nick Foles. I understand Nick Foles had these great playoff runs. The best Philadelphia Eagle team I ever saw was the 2017 Philadelphia Eagles before Carson Wentz get hurt. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Nick Foles, but when they were going into Los Angeles and Carson Wentz tore his ACL out there, I was going, oh my gosh, this guy is John Elway. Howie Long said it at halftime. He was the MVP of football, and their team was literally steamrolling everybody in the NFL at that point. I think they can get close to that level once again.
Caesars does not believe with you. They have the Cowboys as the favorite to win the NFC East right now. Although you can't always read too much into that because the Cowboys get so much money on them every year. I mean, there's so many Cowboy fans out there that just bet on the Cowboys that they have to
sway the odds.
They do.
Right.
They have to reduce the odds. So maybe you're not too far off with that one. Oh, a lot of love for the Eagles. Okay, my next seed, so that would be the 14 seed.
So you're going to 14,
my
right?
14 seed.
What you got there?
It'll be an all NFC
buster.
East matchup in the first round. It'll be Washington. I'll go with Washington as my number 14 seed. They did add Landon Collins, their big free agent signing. Maybe paid a little too much money for him, but that's okay. They got a still solid player, even though you've jumped off the bandwagon. There's some stuff he can do well.
No doubt. No doubt. It's improvement
issues
for sure.
Quarterback issues. They do have Case Keenum. Might not be done there. Jay Gruden and Doug Williams have said that they're taking a quarterback high in the draft, not off the table. They brought back Adrian Peterson, who just turned 42. He's 33. I hope he keeps playing until he's like 42.
I mean, he's unbelievable.
Remember like Julio Franco in baseball?
Yeah.
Remember that guy?
Right. He played like he was like 47.
He was 48. He was
That's
48.
Insane. That's insane.
I hope Adrian plays until he's 48.
Yeah.
Like not great, but he's just out there on the field.
No, I get you. I think the Redskins are one of these teams that again, I'm agree with you. I probably would have had them right around this range too, maybe 13, whatever, being nitpicky.
Yeah.
But regardless, there are some things I like, but the quarterback situation, we got to see how that plays out. There's not a lot of people to be scared about at the wide receiver position. They lost Jamison Crowder. I had argued he was their best target. Jordan Reed, he's always injured, so I worry about that. Ladarius Geist, their second-round running back from last year, we're going to see where he's at. He tore his ACL in the preseason, so there's just a lot of question marks. Darius Geist, I said Ladarius, sorry. Darius Geist, so that's a little bit of a question mark, but I'm with you. I think that's a good 3-14 matchup. I had the Eagles, right? I got to write that down. All right, here we go.
The Eagles, yeah. You've gone Bears, 1 seed, Rams, 2 seed, Philly, 3 seed, and our 4 seed has to be the Saints.
Yes, it does. My Saints, the Saints are the 4 seed here. Hey, the Saints are still, I think this is what concerns me about the Saints. They're still awesome. Of course, losing Max Unger at center is a big deal. But that was huge that Nick Easton committed to them on Sunday. Nick Easton, a free agent signing for the Minnesota Vikings, who could play center and guard. I think that really saves them there. You know, offensively, I don't have much to say about the football team. I think where I worry more about anything is just the defense. You know, one Marcus Davenport, you know, he's got to show up this year. He was their first-round pick from last year. But, hey, guys like, you know, Sheldon Rankins aren't going to be there early in the year because he tore his Achilles tendon. You know, you look at David Omanyata. He might have some issues with the NFL. They got some other guys that might be in trouble or not be able to play early on in the NFL season on the defensive line. Plus, yes, I just think Drew Brees a year older. That concerns me a little bit. It's been 2 great runs by them that have kind of ended in a kind of a letdown type of way. And I guess what I'm expecting is a little bit of a letdown from the Saints. Still a playoff team. I just don't know if they're going to be the top team in the NFC like I've had them the last 2 years.
Drew Brees a year older worries you. Tom Brady a year older doesn't worry you. I mean, they're different level quarterbacks, but both elite quarterbacks.
Yes, right. And Tom Brady's not the guy he was at one point either. But no, Tom Brady, you know, he hasn't lost his fastball. It might not be 105 miles per hour.
Do you think Brees has?
I do think Brees has, yes. I think Brees is, and I think we saw that down the stretch during the season. Teams were not worried about Drew Brees throwing the ball over the top of them. They were sitting on all the short routes, Sean Payton game design routes to just dissect you that way. In fact, when they wanted to go deep, the last 2 times I saw them try to go deep, Taysom Hill threw the football. I think that says a lot to you about just where Drew Brees is. And, yeah, I would expect this year maybe to be Drew Brees' last. If not, it'll be the year after for sure. But it's coming to an end.
So my number 13 seed to face the Saints in the first round of our NFC NCAA tournament is Panthers. I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Okay.
There. I feel like, I mean, they haven't been in the news that much. I feel like they're a little under the radar right now, Panthers. But I don't know. I probably, maybe I'm a little lower on them than other people.
I don't think it's crazy. I mean,
But I got Panthers as my number 13 seed. It seems like they're never quite that low. You know, they're always in the mix.
Yes.
You know, they're a runaway, but they had a pretty rough stretch at the end of last year.
Rough stretch at the end of the last year. I guess what I would tell you is just not forget that Cam Newton had a bum shoulder and he was playing with, you know, he's playing with an arm that he couldn't throw the ball over 20 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Panthers are one of those teams I'm not sure about either. I don't know. Who's the difference maker on their front 7 other than Luke Kuechly? They need to get some guys on the defensive front who can make some plays. There's a lot of things I like about the Carolina Panthers. I guess lack of playmakers are what concern me with them more than anything. On the offensive side of the ball, I know McCaffrey's there. DJ Moore, I'm excited about him. But overall, yeah, Carolina's made no big splashes in free agency to this point. They re-signed their Darrell Williams as far as the tackle position. And I know they got one other offensive lineman that I got to pull up. Again, I'm trying to pull all these things. Yeah, Matt Paradis at center. He's one of the better centers in football. That was a big-time signing to help protect Cam Newton and open up some holes for McCaffrey.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still incomplete, right? We're trying to seed these teams right with what we know right now.
No doubt.
They're going to make some improvements as the offseason goes on and the draft goes on, but that's just, I mean, there's not a whole lot to go on. Yeah, a healthier Cam Newton certainly helps, but got the Panthers at the 13 seed. Your number 5 seed.
My number 5 seed, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys here. Okay. Dallas is the team that, again, I did not need a whole lot in free agency. If they kept their team status quo, I would have just gone, that's pretty good. It's a pretty talented roster. The biggest thing with the Dallas Cowboys, more times than not, is just been the offensive creativity. That's what they need to improve in Dallas more than anything. It's not necessarily the players on the field. I know they'll improve through the draft. But, hey, the big thing with them was they got DeMarcus Lawrence back on the squad. He's the best defensive player coming off the edge. He's their #1 sack artist they got. Hey, adding a Jason Witten, sure, adds a little value. Tavon Austin, he's back there with the team overall. But I think this is a Dallas team that is on the rise and just has to find more ways to make life easy on Dak Prescott in the pass game, and they can be right back in the thick of things in the NFC.
You believe in Dak? You think with the proper weapons, Dak Prescott is the guy?
I did, and I did not believe in Dak probably through the first 6 or 7 weeks last year. But the one thing I'll say about Dak, this is where I go, the grass is not always greener if you're a Cowboys fan. He's big, he's tough, he shows great leadership skills. He's everything you want as a leader on and off the field, to just being the face of your franchise.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. And, of course, he can make all the throws and run and make plays off schedule that way. So, yes, I look at it right now as you got your franchise quarterback. He's a good guy to give money and be the leader of the offensive side of the ball.
I'm going to go with the 12 seed.
Yeah.
Often the upset matchup, 5-12. I'm going to go Bucks.
Okay.
I'm going to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got Bruce Arians, who I'm going to be rooting for him.
Yep, I am too.
Love Bruce Arians and what he can do. What can he do with Jameis Winston? You got Brashad Perryman now as a wide receiver. You got some big playability. You did trade away Deshaun Jackson. You lost those 2 400-yard games in Ryan Fitzpatrick that are guaranteed.
Oh, no.
But I believe in Bruce Arians. I'm going to put him 12.
Yeah, okay. I think there's a lot of things that I like about the Tampa Bay roster in general, too. Yeah, free agency, there's been nothing there to blow you out of the water. The big thing was they re-signed their left tackle, Donovan Smith. They got a Shaquille Barrett who will fit what Todd Bowles wants to do on the defensive side of the ball, which is a little more 3-4-ish. Shaquille Barrett could be the outside linebacker, D-end. I think that's a good value signing. But the Bucs are one of those teams where they're a little more talented than I think the public give them credit for. And with a good defensive coordinator where they had issues there the last few years, and Bruce Arians infusing a little, a few new ideas and a new energy on the offensive side of the ball, I would say watch out for Tampa. They certainly can make some moves. They got enough talent on that team to surprise some people.
Yeah, you need the guys that were already on the team to make a step forward, right?
Exactly.
But I believe that Bruce Arians can get that
out of it.
At least offensively.
I get you there.
On that side of the ball.
I'm with you.
So the number 6 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, number 6 seed is I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
The Seahawks, again, another team where I would just go, didn't need a whole lot. Their team is really in a good spot. I think their big thing is them getting DJ Fluker back on their offensive line. I think that's great. Of course, he's still a big hulking presence at the guard position, gives them depth, protects Russell Wilson. They want to run the football. That's what Seattle does. Getting Frank Clark back as a franchise tag, just like Dallas with DeMarcus Lawrence. He's their best defensive player. You got to have him. KJ Wright, the middle linebacker position, having him back also really nice because he still can play all 3 downs, can cover people, do all of that. But the Seahawks are one of those teams that, again, it might not be a lot of sexy names out there, but their roster is quality. And I think a lot of these guys will become more household names as we see the Seahawks back in the playoffs again, and we start to learn who these guys are that have replaced Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and so on. The guys that we kind of, grew up with the Seahawks being 100%. Stars.
And I give them a lot of credit for that, too, because they really, you don't often see that. You often see the core and a great core that they had, took them to Super Bowls, and it ages, and then there's a tough transition period, and then you struggle for a few years. I mean, they've done a really good job. Obviously, the Patriots seem to do it every year.
Yeah,
they've done a really good job of changing over the core and the identity. I mean, those guys were the identity of the team with Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor, and they were the identity, and they've been able to replace them and now still be one of the better teams in the NFC.
No, I think they've done it the right way, too. And they knew what they were doing, obviously. They weren't afraid to let the Richard Shermans, the Michael Bennett's walk out the door because they knew they had some young guys that the public didn't know about it. Carroll and Schneider, phenomenal evaluators of talent. I never really doubt them.
With the 11 seed, I'm going to go with the face of Seahawks in the first round, my hometown team, the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Who some people may think that's a little high, should have been below a couple of other teams, but they've been active. Matt Patricia bringing basically his friends. He's bringing all his friends over. You know, Trey Flowers, Danny Amendola, Justin Coleman.
All his ex-buddies.
All his ex-buddies. We need help over here in Detroit.
And even Jesse James. Remember, he dropped the ball going over the goal line in Pittsburgh to help New England win?
Yeah.
He's like, you're my buddy.
You were on our team for that play, basically.
Right.
And in Matt Stafford, we trust. I've always thought that. Kenny Golladay took a huge step forward last year.
Yep.
Kerryon Johnson, I feel like they finally found a running back
him.
they can. So, I mean, now that I'm talking about my Detroit Lions, maybe I should have put them even higher. But I believe in the Patriots West.
I do too. I think they're going in the right direction. Matt Stafford had the worst year of his career last year. And was he in culture shock? Yes, he was. I mean, he was asked to play a different way that he had never been asked to play that way his whole career to that point. You know, but again, I would like to sit here and remind everybody, since 2011, Drew Brees only has one more playoff appearance than Matthew Stafford. He is grossly disrespected at the quarterback position. And I understand people not loving him last year, but damn, he carried the damn team all the years before that with nobody around him, ever. I know he had Calvin Johnson a little bit there for a run, but even during that period,
they've had no running game.
No
basically
running
his
game.
Whole career with Detroit.
I mean, epic no running game. History no running game.
Yeah.
Like one of the worst running games we've seen. No pass protection. No great defense to go along with it either. It's a team sport. I mean, so yes, I get sick of defending Matthew Stafford at times, but I do think that their new way of running, playing defense, managing the game, I think he's going to make that adjustment, and they're going to be a better team.
Would you have had him higher, or do you think this is about
No,
right
I think
for
that
them?
was very fair.
Okay.
I think I would have had him right in that range there.
Okay.
All right, number 14.
Number 7 seed.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just gave away where they are in my total power ranking.
Oh, midway through. Okay, interesting.
But I'm going, Aaron Rodgers.
Which
You're still the greatest quarterback I've ever seen.
until you get a few more years of watching
Forever
Patrick
and ever.
Packers is your number 7 seed, which is probably, you know, even though you're giving all those compliments to Aaron Rodgers, might be the lowest you have had an Aaron Rodgers quarterback team for a while.
Yes, it is. But it's the first year I actually feel confident, though, that he might not have to carry the whole damn team by himself. And, hey, the other thing we got to take into account, and I think we've discussed, the NFC and the NFC North, it's pretty damn good.
It's stacked.
It is. It's stacked. And I know we haven't even got to one of the other teams yet, but I just look at the Green Bay Packers. Of course, there's the Aaron Rodgers factor on the offensive side of the ball. There's no other way to deny it. I mean, come on. As long as number 12 is a quarterback, you got to believe that their offense can make it happen when they need to. Hey, he almost made it happen last year, and I know a lot of people are going, oh, they were 6-10. Well, yeah, let's go through a few scenarios. He was red hot in the New England game. It was like, uh-oh, watch out. Here comes Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones fumbles as they're driving to take the go-ahead score. He's red hot in the Rams game, and Ty Montgomery takes it out of the end zone and fumbles the kickoff when they're going to have a chance to go down and have the game-winning score. He's red hot in the Seattle Seahawks game, and Mike McCarthy decided to punt it on 4th and 1. So he wasn't given the chances to take over a few of those games like we had seen in years past that got them over the hump from being 6-10 to now 9-7, and we go, oh, watch out. But I do think
ultimately Aaron Rodgers' fault for not playing multiple positions and coaching the team.
Exactly. It's all on
Aaron. He should have done all of that.
I mean, how dare he? Should have called the offense too, apparently. But I mean, Zadarius Smith, Adrian Amos, Preston Smith on the defensive side of the ball, they had one of the sneaky good free agent runs here. Those are 3 quality starters that are going to help out that Mike Pettin defense big time.
All right, so you got the Packers.
Yeah.
Interesting. You're right. They're
Billy Turn on O-line, that was nice. Mercedes Lewis at tight end. I'm filibustering for you. No worries. You figure it out.
I'm going to go with, as my number 10 seed.
Yes.
As the Falcons. I'll
Okay.
put the Falcons right there.
Okay.
I don't know. Just, they haven't done a whole lot.
I like
a whole
it.
lot of headline moves, but you got Matt Ryan, and you got a team that seems to be in the mix every year. I'm going with Falcons.
Yeah,
What do you
okay.
think?
No, I don't think there's any problem with that. This is the food for thought I would leave you with. You know, again, don't forget that they were injured last year severely. I would argue that they might have been the most injured team in all of football. So I think their defense could get back to being one of the special units we saw the year they went to the Super Bowl, even the year after.
If I didn't take them with the 10 seed there, would you have considered them with the 8 seed? Coming up, your last.
Yeah, it would have been close. I'll even give you a little. Let's see where I would have been there. Yeah, it was them or another team. You can see right here. I got a little bunch there of
so
three NFC teams right in the middle.
Yeah, where their value is.
I totally feel you. But yes, they've done nothing great in free agency. Grady Jarrett was the big thing. They had to make sure they get him back. They franchise him. Hopefully they'll get a long-term deal done. But that was the one key area they have to make happen on their team. He was their best player on their front seven, him or Deion Jones the last few years, certainly their best D lineman, so they got to make sure he stays in town. And they added a little offensive line help for Matty Ryan, which they needed too.
All right, the final matchup in the NFC.
The final countdown.
The team that you were just talking about, which is which team? In number 8 seed.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings.
Yep, I'm going to go with the Vikings here.
Which is why we're talking about the NFC North being pretty stacked, because there you got your third best team in the NFC North is an 8 seed in the upper echelon.
No doubt. I mean, Minnesota, there's a lot. I mean, first of all, we know the Minnesota Vikings defense is legit. I don't think there's any discussion there. Okay, so they're a team that I didn't expect them to make a lot of moves. The one area I'm still concerned with the Minnesota Vikings is still the interior part of their offensive line. That was an issue for them last year. Nick Easton leaves, like we just talked about, to go to the New Orleans Saints. That was the difference between why the Vikings were in the NFC Championship game in 2017 and not in 2018. It was the interior O-line. You can really just peg it to that. That's really the only thing there is to it. The defense was still awesome. They're still great at all three levels. Defensive line's great.
Quarterback play, you okay with there?
What's that?
Quarterback play?
Quarterback play, I'm okay with. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and blame the quarterback when the year before they were the number 6 rushing team in football, and then he gets to come over and they become the 29th ranked team in football, or somewhere close to that. I might be off a rank or two on either one there. But either way, that was a huge part of their problems. So, yeah, pass protection, not being able to run the football made them, it had to be Diggs, Thielen, and Cousins making magic happen.
Right.
Dalvin Cook, 2 years after his injury, we saw him come on at the end of the year last year. I think he has a chance to be a special football player. I still respect the Vikings. I just know teams around them have gotten better.
What if in a week, though, Anthony Barr changes his mind again and goes back to the Jets? So where would you drop them if he changes his mind again? What would you do with
it? It wouldn't affect me. It wouldn't affect a whole lot, but that duo was special. Kendricks and Barr, and you can see the way Mike Zimmer talked about him this week about when they got to re-sign him, how special and such a high regard he holds Anthony Barr in.
So that means that I've got the final team here, the San Francisco 49ers as the number 9.
Kyle Shanahan.
Which I feel like there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about this team. I mean, now you added some more offensive weapons with Tevin Coleman. You got Dee Ford, who had a 13-sack year last year with the Chiefs. You're going to probably select Nick Bosa with your number 2 overall pick.
Can do whatever they want with the number 2 pick.
So that's a lot of, you get Jimmy Garoppolo back healthy. So I think there's a lot of reasons why the 49ers would move all the way up this list. But this is also a team that did have the number 2 overall pick, or does have the number 2 overall pick this year. And so that's a pretty big, significant rise up the rankings for a team that was hurt, didn't have their quarterback, but just was not very good overall last year.
No, I mean, I think 3 players, you know, could have made this team from, the number 2 team in the draft to, you know, let's say they became a 7-9 or 6-10 team and had a middle pick in the draft.
You think they were that close?
Well, I think if their quarterback doesn't get hurt, if Jerick McKinnon doesn't get hurt, if somebody like Reuben Foster doesn't have another, you know, mishap in the Tampa Bay hotel room, you know, I think those things led to, some issues with their team, let alone some other injuries along with it. But I think, San Francisco's one of those teams, you know, if Jimmy Ward could stay healthy, you know, if McKinnon does stay healthy with Tevin Coleman, there's weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Nobody's better at getting receivers open for big plays down the field than Kyle Shanahan with what he has with George Kittle. I think the Dee Ford move was awesome, whether they want to pair him with Nick Bosa like you're saying, or now they can go, we got a great trade offer for number 2. Well, we got our pass rusher in Dee Ford, so we can trade down and maybe get 3 other picks to fill in other roster needs we have. So I really liked what they did to this point, even taking a flyer on Jason Verrett from the Los Angeles Chargers. He was a first-round pick, super talented, hasn't been able to stay healthy. I like that move as well. And then Quan Alexander. They got Reuben Foster back. You know, he's that same type of player. Middle linebacker. Kyle Shanahan used to call Reuben Foster the water boy because he would just run around and crash into people. Quan Alexander's not far off. I mean, he just...
They paid a lot of money for him.
They paid a lot of money. For a guy coming off an ACL injury, maybe a little too much money, but this is a Seattle defense, and they got to run the Seattle scheme is what they do, and they needed their Bobby Wagner, and that's important. That's why they drafted Reuben Foster the first time around, and they knew they were missing that. That's why they went up and got Quan Alexander. They got their Cliff Averill and D Ford because those are just huge parts or pieces that you need to make that scheme successful, and I think it makes sense.
And we were talking about this before the show, too, on the teams that make the big jump, the teams that, you know, you look at, do the free agents matter? Does it matter which team has the best offseason? Does it translate into the regular season? And a lot of times it's the team that has the abundance of free agents or abundance of acquisitions where if you don't hit on all of them, you're going to hit on some of them.
Right.
And if you hit on most of them, then you really do make that jump.
No doubt. The Chicago Bears, they're a team that would jump out to me that did that last year. Signed a whole bunch of people on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. It really changed the roster around. But it can go the other way, too. Like we see with the Dream Team and the Eagles in 2010, right? You get too many personalities around. Everybody starts puffing out their chest and, oh, we're good. We're going to go to the playoffs.
Then you start 1-3.
And then you go, oh, crap. Reality sets in, and everybody's been gunning for us.
So let's take a look at our final NFC bracket. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just look here. If you're listening on the podcast, you're going to have to call up the video at some point. But so we got the 1-seed Bears, the 2-seed Rams, the 3-seed Eagles. Do you see any upset matchups in all the games that we have there? Which would be your potential upset game where you see a worse-seeded team?
I would get scared of like 5-12 Cowboys-Bucks.
Oh, Buccaneers over the Cowboys, perhaps.
Bucks getting one of their, lackluster offensive game plans. One of the big questions I'll have is Kellen Moore, their new offensive coordinator. Yeah, Bucks, Todd Bowles, he does some creative things. Bruce Arians hits a bomb or two. That would be a little scary down the field. Other than that, hey, Falcons, Packers, the 7-10 matchup, that's kind of interesting, too.
Yeah. Okay,
they've had some good showdowns.
So we got all our brackets. We're completed now through 1 through 16 in the AFC, 1 through 16 in the NFC. We're posting them all to Twitter, so you can go on there. You can vote and tell us that we were crazy or that you agree 100%
or
with
all
everything
mine were
we said.
amazing and Ahmed's were not that good.
I mean, that's probably how it will work out. That's how it should work out, too. You're the expert here. So feel free to chime in.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.